Hey everyone, welcome back to Hoopers Nation, your top destination for NBA basketball content. In a very short period of time, Karl-Anthony Towns has become one of the best centers in the league. It didn't take the former Kentucky standout long after becoming the first pick in the 2015 draft to assert his dominance on the offensive end and become the Timberwolves' best player. Cat has continued to put up monster stat lines in Minnesota, but his MVP caliber play has never translated into many wins for the Wolves. And if you ask us, it's clear that this isn't so much a problem with Towns as a problem with the historically miserable Minnesota Timberwolves franchise. In this video, we'll take a look at why Karl-Anthony Towns needs to leave the Minnesota Timberwolves ASAP. But before we do, please make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on Hoopers Nation post notifications for more NBA content. So, when we said Cat has been putting up monster stat lines, we really mean it. This past season, Towns averaged 26.5 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists, while shooting 50.8% from the field and a ridiculous 41.2% from behind the three-point arc on 8 attempts per game. Unfortunately, he was limited to only 35 games last year, as he missed 2 portions of the season while recovering from different injuries. Plus, the Timberwolves season finished early after they weren't invited to the NBA bubble. But believe us, you've never heard of a big man making 40+% of his threes on 8 attempts per game. Oh, and he does that while also killing every opposing center on the post and on the pick and roll. Oh, and he's also using his improved court vision to distribute the ball to his mostly terrible teammates. What this guy's doing on the offensive end is unprecedented and unheard of. Can you imagine how much better he'd be on a winning franchise? There's just no way to put it. Cat has been dominant ever since he first stepped onto an NBA court. As we said though, despite having one of the best players in the game, the Timberwolves' only season with a winning record since Towns' arrival happened in 2018, when the franchise appeared to be taking an all-in route by trading for Jimmy Butler and bringing in Tom Thibodeau as the head coach and president of the team. They also blew that, by the way. How can anybody forget that hilarious story of Butler beating the Wolves starters in practice while he was playing with the third stringers? The Timberwolves being totally incompetent isn't a thing of this past decade either. They've sucked for almost their entire 30-year existence. They've only made the playoffs a total of 9 times, 8 of which came in the Kevin Garnett era between 1997 and 2004, and have won just under 40% of their games in franchise history. Some people say the Timberwolves are a cursed franchise. But how about looking at that quietly terrible owner Glenn Taylor? Maybe terrible is a bit too harsh, but Taylor has built a reputation for himself as an owner who hasn't been able to capitalize on multiple great opportunities his franchise has had. Kevin Garnett was the one opportunity Taylor did capitalize on. But even with all those playoff appearances where they were led by KG, they only made it out of the first round once, in Garnett's MVP season. So he definitely could have done more. But isn't it a bit curious that the Wolves are yet to retire Garnett's jersey, even though he's far and away the most impactful and important player in franchise history? Well, as things stand now, KG's number will never be retired by Minnesota because he has openly refused to that happening. After Garnett returned to the franchise in 2015 for one last farewell season before retiring, he was under the impression he would become a part owner of the Wolves after having multiple discussions with Taylor. But it turns out that wasn't what Taylor wanted to happen. So they fell out with each other and haven't spoke since. Having his best player ever refuse to have his jersey retired by the team just gives you an idea just how bad of an owner he is. It hasn't helped that the Timberwolves front office has also been historically bad. The Wolves are known for passing on so many very talented players in the draft, like when they drafted 2 point guards in the first round ahead of Stephen Curry in 2009, and making some terrible financial decisions as well. For instance, when the team brought Jimmy Butler in 2017, they formed a young, talented big three of Butler, Towns, and Andrew Wiggins. When you have that sort of talent together, all you need is multiple solid role players around them. It turns out the Wolves did have some cap space to play with, as both Towns and Wiggins were still on their very cheap rookie deals, and Butler was making just under $20 million that year. But what did the front office do? Paid Jeff Teague, Taj Gibson, Gorgui Dieng, and Cole Aldrich a combined $55 million, almost 60% of the salary cap, for them to have mediocre and bad seasons. That was their chance to make a splash, but as per usual, they blew it. Why do you think Butler's tenure as a Wolf was so short? Because he couldn't stand being a part of a franchise with a loser culture. It may sound easy to make the Wolves franchise the scapegoat, but it's just the reality of the landscape. And if Towns doesn't want to waste the best years of his career in Minnesota like Kevin Garnett and Kevin Love both did, then he needs to demand out. He's already dominating on the court despite playing for this awful franchise, so think about what he could do if he finds his way to a team that actually has a winning culture. Take Zach LaVine, for instance, previously a part of the Wolves' building blocks. The team sent LaVine to the Chicago Bulls in the Jimmy Butler trade. And even though he was a part of the young core, he was always viewed as the player with the lowest potential between him, Wiggins, and Cat. Now, let's not act like the Bulls have been doing a lot of winning since trading for LaVine, but they've definitely not done as bad as Minnesota. After years of controversy with their own troublesome front office duo of Gar Forman and John Paxson, Chicago decided to replace them with Arturas Karnisovas this past offseason. He proceeded to then fire head coach Jim Boylan and replaced him with Billy Donovan, something that's coincided with LaVine's leap to All-Star status. He had already improved his game a ton these past few seasons, but LaVine has taken it to a whole different level this year. After years of only being known as the guy who threw down some amazing dunks at the slam dunk contest, LaVine is now regarded as one of the best guards in the East. This season, he's averaging 28.9 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists on 51.8% field goals and 42.9% from three-point land, all of which are career-high marks. He's become one of the most efficient scorers in the league, averaging 1.31 points per shot attempt, which ranks 8th in the entire NBA among non-big men with at least 300 minutes played. Under these same criteria, he's also top 10 in the league with a 60.9 efficient field goal percentage. LaVine is up there with the likes of Stephen Curry, James Harden, and Paul George when you compare the efficiency and volume that all these guys have. Sure, it took him a couple of years to get to this level, but we can assure you he would have never gotten here as a Wolf. Andrew Wiggins has another very interesting case. It's been a bit over a year since he got traded to the Golden State Warriors, and we're already witnessing the effects of his Timberwolves exodus. Are Wiggins' numbers better than what they were in Minnesota? Well, no. This season, he's averaging 17.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 2.2 assists. But his transition out of the Wolves has seen him improve on his two former biggest flaws. First and foremost, the inefficiency that Wiggins used to personify in Minnesota appears to be gone. After shooting 44% from the field and 33.2% from three in his Timberwolves career, the former #1 overall draft pick has improved to 47% from the field and 37% from three this year with the Dubs. These may not seem like huge improvements, but they do make a huge difference in games. Second, Wiggins has actually become a plus defender. Despite having the perfect physical tools, which include a 6'7" frame and a 7-foot wingspan, he had always been a net negative defender. He was viewed as lazy and bad on D, but maybe those were just the effects of developing in a losing environment. Today, Wiggins proudly takes the roughest perimeter assignments and has often limited their offensive output. Throughout the season, he's held his direct matchups to only 39.5% shooting from the field. Pretty impressive, right? You can claim that the Warriors system is helping him all you want, but don't forget that Golden State is barely a 500 team and would be even worse than the Timberwolves if it weren't for Stephen Curry. So no, these aren't the same Warriors of the past. They have no help. Wiggins has instead become the help they need. What is true and has indeed helped Wiggins is taking a step back and not being forced to be the primary wing scorer. You can see he's no longer feeling that #1 pick bust pressure and is now looking as comfortable as ever on the court. He would have probably continued piling up seasons with empty and inefficient scoring if he were still in Minnesota. Now look at Anthony Edwards. He's obviously still with the Timberwolves and was the first pick in the draft this season, but it's really weird to see him struggle as much so early on in his career. As we always say, you can always expect rookies to be inefficient as they learn on the fly, but Edwards is shooting 37% from the field. That's inexcusable. He's managed to put up better stat lines as of late, as well as a Dunk of the Year highlight candidate that will cost thousands of dollars on NBA Top Shot. But his rookie season has been mostly a letdown, and he's fallen short of expectations. The Timberwolves are a mess. That's the best way to put it. They just fired their former head coach Ryan Saunders in the middle of the season. D'Angelo Russell, one of their top players and scorers, will be out for a while. The Timberwolves will once again be the worst team in the league. It's hard not to feel sorry for them and their fan base, which has already endured so much. Fortunately for them, Cat showed some commitment to the team after the recent dismissal of Coach Saunders. "If you want to build a legacy, we gotta win," Towns said. "And I want to build my legacy here, so I want to win with the Wolves. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to keep step by step, brick by brick, building something and a culture here that's going to stand for a long time." The problem, Mr. Towns, is that you won't win in Minnesota. What this young man is trying to do is nothing short of admirable. He's so good of a player that he could help turn around any franchise's bad fortunes, except for the Wolves. Trying to fix the unfixable is worthless. We're not exactly sure what the solution to their issues is. Perhaps Taylor should sell the team. The only thing that is clear is that Karl-Anthony Towns needs to get out of Minnesota. We've already seen great big men waste their primes there, and Cat is too good to suffer through the same pains. Do you think Cat can turn around the Timberwolves franchise? Or should he leave before it's too late? Make sure to comment your thoughts down below, as well as leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.